Hi, and welcome to today's video. I'm going to share 3 essentials that all humans need. Now, this is from 2 perspectives. So if you're watching this and you think about your childhood, if you didn't get these 3 things, then it can indicate that there's something you can go back to and start to heal and give to yourself. Or if you have children, these are 3 things that you want to make sure to give them. Because if you do, then research shows that their psychological well-being is so much better off. And so these 3 things are really simple, but they're really profound. And so you can either give them to your children, or if you didn't get them yourself, you can start to give them to yourself. Don't forget to subscribe if you find value in these videos. Okay, let's jump in. So the first essential need all humans require is true acceptance and unconditional love. Now, unconditional love means that we feel that loving presence regardless of what we do. We don't have to perform, we don't have to act, we don't have to get good grades to receive love. We feel that love regardless. And when we feel acceptance and unconditional love, we have such a bedrock of self-acceptance and self-worth because we feel loved. And so think about the foundation of self-love and self-acceptance. When we have that foundation, it makes us feel safer to jump, to take risks, because we know if something doesn't work out, we can come back to our self-worth, our self-love, and acceptance. And now, this originally shows up in our early childhood figures. And so if we had parents that were really admiring, if they showed love, if they weren't holding back love, if you did something bad, then this was going to give you so much foundation and so much psychological safety long term. On the other side of it, if we felt like we only got love if we made a high score, if we only got praise when we did something good, this tells us that our self-worth is only connected to what we do, what we produce, or what we achieve. And so that might resonate with a lot of people watching, because I think this is one of the big problems that so many of us are facing. We're kind of burned out. We're pushing so hard. We feel like we always have to be producing. School taught us that, okay, good grades get this, bad grades get that. And so if you had parents who also replicated that system where they really admired you when you did something good and they didn't give you a lot of love or affection if you did something bad, then this really created this diminishment of self-love and self-acceptance. And so if you do have kids, you want to make sure to show them love all the time. Don't wait for them to be doing something to show them love. If they're just in a bad mood, say, I'm sorry you're in a bad mood, but I love you and I'm here for you. If they're having a temper tantrum, don't get mad at them. That's, you're getting mad at them being really reactional, but you're also being really reactional in that. Be able to hold the space and say, I know that you are having a lot of feelings right now. I'm here for you. All of that love and that acceptance that you're giving them is going to teach them, okay, I can go through these bad parts. I can go up and down. I can make mistakes, and that's not going to take away my safety and my love. So that's such a profound gift that you can give kids. And if you're listening to this and you say, I didn't get it myself. And so part of my work was having to really start to love myself and accept myself. And what I noticed in my own work was I didn't have to be so perfect. I could make mistakes, and I wasn't critical. I wasn't so harsh on myself when I really started to get connected to that love and that unconditional love that's within us. And the great thing is, no matter how much damage, how much trauma, how much pain you've gone through as a child, there is always a way to access this unconditional love and acceptance. And so if you want to learn more, then you can reach out and I can dive more into it. But think about giving yourself and your children, if you have them, that unconditional love and that true acceptance. It's huge. The second need that we all have is the free range and ability to experience all of our emotions. And so we all have emotional circuitry in the brain that when we feel angry, there's a certain pattern that lights up. When we feel really joyful and happy, another pattern opens up. And so when kids are little, they're not really regulating this. They're really testing and experimenting their full spectrum of certain emotions. And all too often, our society likes to really prioritize emotional regulation. And that makes sense, right? As adults, we want to be emotionally regulated, but it's much easier. The research shows it's much easier to be emotionally regulated later on if when we were young, we were given a space to be able to experience the full range of emotions without being punished. Now, if you have kids, I have kids, I understand their emotions can be a lot. And if you haven't taken care of yourself, then you might find yourself lost in their emotions. Then we start to react instead of respond. We start to become a child ourselves. We start to act with our limbic brain, which is much more reactive, much more emotional, much more dysregulated. And so as a result, we start to punish the kids for feeling the range of emotions when this is part of their development. And so long-term psychological development, the healthiest version of it is when kids are given a safe area to be able to express. And what I mean by a safe area is safe space. So think about if you're hearing a really good friend talk about a breakup and you're letting them feel pain, grief, sadness, guilt, and you're not trying to change what they're feeling. This allows us to feel that acceptance, that connection, and that love I was talking about earlier. And so if you had a childhood where you felt like you weren't really given this grace, then you might be somewhat disconnected from your feelings, from your emotions, and maybe even your body. So we have a tendency to cut off what doesn't feel safe. And if we didn't have emotional safety growing up, if we couldn't really express ourselves fully, then we may have pressed down some of those feelings. And so the work here is to be able to get connected to what you're actually feeling. I was very repressed emotionally. And so when I started opening this up, it's like the pendulum swaying. I had to feel really, really emotional. So I wouldn't express any anger. And the pendulum was like, okay, I'm expressing all the anger. And that might just be part of the process and maybe the alchemy of being able to release some of the things that have stuffed in you. And so the first step here is being able to give yourself permission to feel and to express and give yourself healthy space. Now, maybe you have a friend, a partner, a loved one, maybe a therapist or a coach that you can get in touch with your feelings more and then be pushed to be able to open up in deeper ways. And when you do that, you're healing your inner child and you're giving yourself permission to be able to express and not feel shame or guilt or any negative emotion or thought process about that expression. The third essential that we all require is play, spontaneous, creative play. Now, as children, if you have children, you want to make sure that they can use their imagination. One of the greatest qualities of the human mind and soul is imagination. It's our ability to visualize. And as kids, every kid I've ever seen is so imaginative. I've been watching my son lately and like what he's able to create with blocks is extraordinary. And it reminds me that creative spark, that soul of creativity is all within us. But unfortunately, through different processes, maybe parental issues, maybe schooling issues, societally, culturally, that room for creative, spontaneous play has been diminished. And so many people I talk to are really pressed into just focus. Like, okay, I'm working from 8 to 5, I'm focused. But truthfully, that's really not the best thing for us. It's not good for our brain. It's not good for our mind. It's certainly not good for our soul and our heart. And so many people I ask, do you have any play in your life? And that play is associated with drinking and drugs, unfortunately. And that's going to have diminishing returns. That's actually really negatively impactful if that's the only way you're getting that play experience. And so you want to be able to make room in your schedule to be spontaneous, to play, to imagine. And if you have kids, make sure you give them that space. Like, it's not all about extracurricular activities if it feels like they have one thing after another. Be able to support it. And you can support that by getting on their level and asking, what are you creating? What are you imagining? And go with it. The beautiful thing about having kids, one of the beautiful things about having kids is if you're giving them that permission, it is such an invitation for you to be able to imagine. So imaginative creative play is essential to us being humans. It's essential for us to self-actualize and master our mind. And if you don't have any room in your life, then you're going to suffer as a result. This is going to be a huge void that you really, really need to fill. And how most people fill it would be gambling, drugs, sex, alcohol, numbing it in some way. But make space for it and you'll be surprised at how much more fulfilled and connected you are. And then things open up in your mind and your consciousness that you didn't even think of before. And just a reminder, if you have kids, be able to allow them, pick schools, pick structures, pick activities that allow them to get playful, to get dirty, to be out in nature, to play. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.